I don't know. Whatever time it is that you're watching this, I'm Scott Groves. I am a husband, a father, a loan officer, a coach, and more importantly, for the next 20 minutes or so, I am the tribe leader of the Generate community, and I'm super, super stoked to have my friend and a fellow coach, Julie Reisler, on the call. Let me give the quick 5-minute breakdown that I know. Well, 50-second breakdown. Julie, she teaches coaching at Georgetown University, so she actually knows what she's talking about. She's just not some 22-year-old life coach that came up with 10,000 Instagram followers. She wrote a book. This was her second book. Get a PhD in You. I'm trying to get it in there in the frame. Awesome book. I've actually worked through the entire workbook of this, which I love. You have a podcast called the You-est You. You're starting a new coaching kind of kickoff for 12 weeks called Life Designer. You're a mother, you're a wife, you're an all-around badass. And we were just talking before we went live that you've got this great feminine energy, and you're also just kind of like one of the ass-kicking dudes. So, you're kind of a chameleon. You can get into any crowd and add a lot of value. So what did I miss in my 60-second bio of Julie?
Oh my God, nothing. You are I love it. Thank you, Scott. You're so great. I was like, wow. When you see your life go in 30 seconds, I feel like I just saw my life go before me. I'm like, wow, all right. That's no wonder I've been so busy.
Yeah, you're doing a lot. And, I know a lot of your message, the podcast, the book, and kind of just who the essence of you are, who you are. You talk a lot about, self-care and finding the best version of you and really getting in touch with that. So, I think right now is one of those times where people are a little lost. Maybe they were defined by their in-person community or the CrossFit gym they went to or their career or going to the office. And now we're all stuck at home with this new reality. So what do you want to kind of speak to that person that's maybe watching this in the Generate community and maybe they're feeling a little lost or a little out of sorts? Like what direction do you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I think who isn't being affected by this, right? I mean, the only ones of us that are not is if either you're inebriated the whole time, which no judgment, it's all good. But if you're conscious breathing, and especially if you have your own business or you're in the entrepreneurial track, things have shifted. And I gotta say, it's really interesting. I've been thinking about this so much. When you said CrossFit, I'm like, yeah. I used to go, my gym here, loved it. I just heard they're opening again, but it's going to be every 6 feet is one machine and you have to sign up. And, it's interesting, just even with that example, I was walking with my husband. We've been going every morning early together, and kind of hit me I'm not even sure that I need to go back to that gym. I mean, I loved it, but there's things that I've been doing on my own now. And I think this time is really a time of pivoting and going within and just saying, does this really match who I am and who I want to be? Does this use my time? I mean, I think of time. Time is, we know this, it is the most precious commodity. Time is, you don't get it back. And for me, it's kind of this is funny. I think of it for those of you who are meat eaters and you get you suck the bone out, the marrow out. You want to me, you want to suck the marrow out of the minute that you have. You want to savor. You want to maximize it. And so does it make sense for me to drive, 45 minutes total and go to the gym when I could just walk and do, exercise at home? That's an example. I think it's asking us, the call to action is really looking at your life now. What have you let go of? Maybe because you didn't want to, but maybe it's better. How is it serving your peace of mind? How is it serving your pacing, your time with your family, your time with yourself, business? I think it's a time to really reevaluate.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I've had these two competing ideas in my head. I mostly serve the realtor and the loan officer community through the business that I do and the coaching that I do. And a lot of people I'm talking to, they're like, oh man, you take away the distractions and the long business lunches and the commute across LA, which can take you an hour and a half to go 25 minutes. And I know people in the real estate and mortgage business and other sales industries where they're just crushing it. They are the most productive they've ever been. They're doing the most business they've ever done. So one competing thought is, oh yeah, we should keep this up, work from home, maximum productivity. That's one thought. But then the other thought that I had that I just stole from a podcast called Pivot was the instructor was saying hey, I've run tech startups, but at the end of the day, I value getting people in the office together because ideas need to have sex. And he's
Yeah.
like, you need ideas to bump into each other, and you need those ideas to have sex with each other to come up with new ideas and move things forward. And he goes, you show me a company where there's not some in-person interaction, and I'll show you a company that's just not creative. And so let's talk about those two balancing thoughts of like, hey, this is awesome. I can work from home. I can set my own schedule. I can design the life that I want. But
Yeah.
hey, at the end of the day, humans are social creatures. Like, we got to get out there and interact with people. So how are you finding that balance with the tightly knit community that you run?
Yeah. Oh, it's a great question. And I'm like, well, I've never heard of like ideas having sex together. That is so interesting. That's fascinating. I love it. I love it. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Brilliant. Um, Look, I think that there's something that you can't, I mean, you can't replicate in-person connection, right? I think even now, like we're on Zoom or live, and I feel connected to you, and I feel connected to my clients when I'm on Zoom. And I think it's an excellent, probably secondary option. There's some of us where it serves, and it might actually serve enough to be on Zoom or to be virtual. Ideally there's a hybrid, right? Like, I mean, I think if you're thinking strategically, I would definitely be looking at how can I make sure my business is virtual proof, meaning how can I make this is not, I really don't think this is going away. I think we're going to have another surge in the fall and the winter. And so there's nothing that replaces in-person connection. I was actually going to be holding a retreat in Sedona in December. And, I'm not going to do that right now. That does not make sense to book that. And so I'm considering doing a virtual one. Will it be excellent and have people feel connected to themselves, to others? Absolutely. We both were trained in that. We know how to do that through exchange. But however, is it the same as all of us meeting in Sedona and like walking the land together? No way. It's not the same. But I think the question is, given the situation, what's wanting to be birthed through me or come through me now that's going to be still have me be of service, make an impact, be successful. And when we're able to come back together, I mean, I see it as a hybrid situation. I think it would be ideal to be both together and to have a business that can be, if it has to go virtual, like with what we're doing now, it can.
Nice. And you mentioned something about the potential of like everybody kind of getting back into flow of things just as the winter months come, and then you have the normal kind of outbreak of influenza coupled with maybe a resurgence of COVID, and probably won't have a vaccine by then. I know you're really big into self-care, weight management, lifestyle, things of that nature. And that's been a lot of your journey. One of the things that's frustrating to me is that while the news media, to scare everybody, is correctly pointing out that this disease is kind of attacking the weakest among us, the ones with autoimmune deficiency and the elderly, and you already have like some risk factors. What are you recommending to your tribe, or what are you just doing amongst your own family to take care of your own health and wellness? Because let's be real, like if you're an active, healthy person at any age, your chances of surviving some type of interaction with COVID, influenza, pick any number of disease, your option and potential for survival and recovery goes up exponentially if you're actually taking care of your body. So could we pivot real quick over to the health side, and like, what are you talking about with your people to stay healthy?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm like, how much time do we have for this one? I'm going to try to condense this, but yeah, no, this is, look, this is not to be like, fluffy. We're all made of energy. Like, we know that. I love to geek out on quantum physics. I don't really understand a lot of it, but enough to understand like we're made of energy. So having good energy is crucial. Having enough energy, feeling good, it comes out, as human beings, most of our communication is nonverbal. So what's happening is you're now communicating mainly on Zoom, on camera, and your energy, it's everything. So managing your energy, it's also connected to your health, your well-being, and to being able to really stay in a good immune situation. So, I mean, I'll tell you, this has been something I have an autoimmune condition, and I've been working on this for years. And it's something, self-care, it's not like, oh, that's nice. No, it's like, probably it should be literally, to me, like you would never not brush your teeth. So getting enough rest, frankly, meditating. I just had Juliana Ray, who I know we both love, who teaches the see, hear, feel technique. It doesn't really matter what technique you're doing. If you're getting still, quiet breathing. I'm a big heart math fan, connecting to your heart, breathing in, getting what's called heart coherence. That's a whole other thing we can get into. It's very easy. These are all things that are natural, but adding stillness, I would say get some reflection time, journaling, even if we're talking 10 minutes in the morning. We love Miracle Morning, but I will say, even if it's a shortened version, yeah, I've got it right there. Exactly. Isn't that funny? I wrote something like that where you can write, reflecting, the reason why stillness meditation, the reason is it lowers your stress response. It boosts your immune system. Cultivating, seriously, gratitude appreciation practice. This sounds like fluffy. It's not. I just recorded a 15-day course on this. I was studying the benefits. There are literal health benefits when you focus on gratitude. And then honestly, you got to move. You got to move, and then you got to look at the fuel you're putting in your body. You would not put, diesel gas into a car that doesn't take it. So when you put crap into your body, you're going to get crap energy. So these are basic things, but basic, but not always easy, not always easy. And especially at home, I can tell you, I have kids that are like, can we bake? I'm like, you can bake with these ingredients. You know how you see these challenges like Top Chef and Guys Grocery Grains are like, here are I'm like, here are your ingredients. It's called fruit. It's called oatmeal. Go make something fun with that. We're not doing any more brownies, like enough. Right. And so I'm not saying take out all of that kind of sugary processed food, but that stuff is not going to give you the energy you need. And it's all energy. And if you want to I think this is definitely, everything I'm reading is going to be coming back in the fall and winter. And so it's really important getting enough vitamin C, getting enough zinc, getting like those supplements. Now is the time to really build your immune system.
It's really hard sometimes when we start to go down this rabbit hole, right? Because it's like, I know what you know, in the sense that there's like MIT level PhD research on the ideas of gratitude and meditation and silence. And these things actually affect our brain and our health and our heart and our lungs. Sometimes I think when people hear this, they might check out, or they might start rolling their eyes of like, oh, that's some hippy dippy guru bullshit.
Yeah.
What do you like to use as a resource? Like when you're actually researching things where like, hey, I need the zinc and the vitamin B, there's so much bad information out there. Do you have some go-to resources that maybe you could share that you're like, no, this is real science. This isn't some snake oil salesman?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I just interviewed, he's very well known. He's a scientist. He has a show called Missing Links. He has 5 best-selling books on New York Times bestsellers. Greg Braden is beyond one of the most badass, kind, big-hearted researchers. Him and Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think, are excellent resources. I got to meet both of them. Was at an event with him right before this. I just interviewed Greg, and he was talking about in my podcast. If you listen at the end, he talks about you need to take supplements like zinc and vitamin C, and he went through other ones as well. Certain mushrooms that can help you, not those mushrooms, but mushroom extract. Yeah. So, there are things that we can do that have been proven. I think, so Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think Mark Hyman is really good. I think Mind Body Green is a really good resource. I get a lot of information. I personally know someone who's very close with the founder, Jason Wackob, and I trust their research. I still will check things like peer review journal, articles and things like that. I also, Ocean Robbins, I interviewed on my podcast. He's this grandson of Baskin Robbins, and he's a expert in nutrition and scientist, and he has the Food Revolution book. I think it's like the 21 Day, and that has some good information. But for me, yeah,
we'll link to all these podcasts, by the way, because I know you just went through a lot of stuff, but we'll link, especially to the Missing Link author, Greg Braden. I've seen some of his stuff, and I've been meaning to get around to listen to that podcast of all the other podcasts I have in my queue of yours. So I'll move that one up to the top of the list, and we'll link to that one from your podcast, the You-est You. Awesome. Yeah, cool. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there, but I want to make sure everybody knows you don't have to rewind. We'll post all this stuff for you. Awesome. Anything else on the health and wellness side that you like as a resource?
I'm trying to think look, here's what I would say, just aside from the resource. I mean, you got to think about this. If in terms of food, because I think there's a lot of confusion about food, start tuning into your body. This is what I teach. Like, tune into what actually feels good. If you don't feel well after you eat something, chances are not the best for you. If you stick with plants, fruits, seeds, nuts, things that are like literally from earth, that are whole and not processed, You can't go wrong. I'm not saying one way to eat or the other. We all are built differently. But if you start tuning in, I think that's the gift of right now. And that's how to design your life. You got to listen. You got to get still and you got to start listening. There's so much more information. And Greg goes into this. He has his book, The Divine Matrix, gets into this. When you start tuning in, there is actual intelligence in your body. Your body has intelligence in your heart, intelligence in your gut. I'm talking neurons. I'm talking neurons with intelligence. So my thing is, use this time to slow the F down and listen. And you, frankly, is my belief, we're all the expert of ourselves. You're the expert of your body. So if it doesn't, if something doesn't feel good as you're eating it or, drinking it, then you got to pause and like really test it out. You got to be the scientist and researcher of your own body. So
It's almost like you need to get a PhD in you.
I keep saying the same thing and I'm like, that's why I wrote these books. My first one has a whole thing on this. It really does. The whole thing is.
I know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You said something on that. And again, I want to pull at this thread a little bit more. You mentioned about listening to your body and designing the life that you want. And one of the things that I've been thinking about very selfishly is, I was talking to a previous business partner of mine. He's like, we're renting this $14,000 a month commercial space to house our team. And what we're realizing is like, we don't really need it. So now that we have proof of concept that people can work from home, maybe we give everybody a $500 stipend and increase their income to work from home and set up a little, home office, a $500 a month stipend. And once a month we get together at an offsite, $1,000 for a really nice dinner or lunch. Something. He's like, I can probably cut $8,000 a month, $100,000 a year out of my operating budget by getting rid of this commercial space. So, selfishly, what I'm thinking for myself and other business owners is what a great excuse this pandemic has been. If there's certain parts of your life that you want to reset or redesign or say, you know what, I've now proven to myself that I don't need that ongoing commitment that I've been convincing myself to do over and over and over again. So let's talk about that a little bit right now. Like if somebody wants to use this time as an excuse to cut distractions out of their life or cut spending or whatnot, what would you be thinking through right now if you're like, oh yeah, let's use this because it is what it is as a hard reset for my business, my life, my body, whatever the case may be? How would you be thinking about that if you're somebody that's like, oh, I kind of like the changes I could make because of this shitstorm we're going through?
Yeah, I love it. I would do, like you could do an old school cost benefit analysis. I would look at pre and where you are now. What did you like about before? What do you like about now? What served you before? What's serving you now? I mean, I would like weigh those out. I would really start looking at the other pieces. I talked about it earlier is, this idea of using your energy, your intuition, your just checking in. How does it feel to work out of home? Like that might actually feel better for many people. How does that feel on your finances? Like, do you feel more hopeful and excited about your finances now because you're spending less? Like I would do a full 360, kind of go in and research the heck out of everything that you've been doing. We've have two months of data. I love tracking data, Scott. Like this is where I geek out, is like, I love looking at what's happened and kind of pinpoint, like take a moment, give yourself a half a day or a day to do this. Take like a full Sunday, sit down, or Saturday, take a day and like look at all areas of your life. I do have that in both books. There's a wheel and it looks through all parts of your life, but I would look at your business, I'd look at your spending, I'd look at your time, I'd look at your the way you're spending your day, the way you're bringing in income, look at your family time, your self time. I'd look at all of it and look at these last 2 months. Think of that as a gift. It's data now of what it looks like when you are not needing to rush from here to there, when you're not being in the office, when you're able to have more time, at your disposal. And I would look and see, and you could weigh it out. For some people, like make a scale of 1 to 5. Anything that's below a 3, you don't do anymore. I would weigh out what works, what doesn't, and get really clear, because again, I see it as a gift. I got a huge gift in these last 2 months. I mean, I wish no one harm. It makes me really sad. There've been a lot of, I actually know, two close people that lost their lives to this. It's not, it's very disturbing, yet it's also a gift. It is a gift when we look at it from the lens of how are we going to become, frankly, how can your life improve because of this? And I can see it for me. I mean, I just did that this weekend. It was really powerful.
Yeah, you made two comments in there that I don't want to gloss over. One is, how is this serving me then versus now, right? And you and I have a good friend actually, who I talked to him a few months ago, and he's like, yeah, one day I just woke up. He's like, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I don't think I need to go to meetings, but I just decided like, hey, is drinking alcohol in the evening, is that serving me? Does that allow me to show up the next morning in a peak state and be with my kids and, accomplish all my goals? And he's like, I have no judgment. He's like, I'm not trying to tell anybody else not to drink. He's like, but just for me, like drinking alcohol wasn't serving me. So for the time being, I'm putting it away. And if at some point it does serve me, then cool. Maybe I'll bring it back out of the liquor chest. But for now, it's gone. So that's one thing you said that really resonated with me. And I love this idea. And I feel like you're much better at this than I am. You said, how does this feel to ... And we could be thinking of this nonstop. How does it feel to put this item back on my calendar when we come out of shelter in place? How does it feel to spend money on XYZ? It's like right now I can think of, I feel like I can't wait to put group workouts back on my calendar because I love the camaraderie of boxing and fighting and combat sports. And you kind of have to be with other people to do that. Although my 4-year-old's right at that position where he can punch me right in the balls. It's like, it's not great. So I feel good about putting that back on my calendar, but there's other stuff that I don't feel good about putting on my calendar again. And I need to tactfully find a way to say no and bow out of those obligations because there's this one obligation I have every Wednesday where I'm like, dude, I am so excited. I still have to shelter in place because I don't have to waste my 2 hours on this thing. And I just got to get in touch with how I feel. Guys, maybe stereotypically not as good at that as maybe women are in general. We just have different skill sets, opposite sexes. Give us your last piece of advice for getting in touch with how we really feel. And then maybe, we'll get some contact information from you and leave it at that.
Well, let's remember that as human beings, we have a range of emotions, whatever you want to call it. Like we're designed to have the whole range, right? You can't deny. I mean, there's going to be a point you feel grief. There's going to be a point. So like we have them. I think what can be helpful, this is what I found when I've worked with men and actually quite a few women that are not as in touch, is to start maybe a rating system. Like, how do I feel? I got to be honest. I used to not know how I felt. I wasn't trained to know how I felt. I mean, I know that's crazy and hard to imagine. So I would just, does that feel right? Does that not feel right? Does that feel like something I want to do? Does that feel like, use that scale? Like that can be an easier scale. Use the scale. I mean, we're hopefully always trying to grow towards being our best self, maximizing potential. So like you could use the scale of, does that feel like that's going to bring me to my potential? Or does that feel like it's taking away? Go there. I wouldn't worry about naming it like, wow, I feel really frustrated. Don't worry about the freaking name. Don't go to the name. Go to how is it impacting you as a human being? And I think I'm guessing anyone that is here in this recording or live with us right now is somebody who wants to make a big impact in this world and someone who wants to be successful and be their best self and have fun and have an awesome life, right? Like, I'm just guessing if you're here, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So use this feeling to help you get what you want and to help others get what they want. And that is, I would use it that way. I wouldn't worry about the like, we can get into the mushy side. No, emotions are, it is a tool. And I'll tell you something, we don't have time to go into this, but you go into heart math and some of what they've found in the studies about intelligence in your heart and your feelings, your emotions, it's way deeper than what I'm saying. Like actually tuning into, does that feel like it serves me to be my best or not? It lives in a different place than your mind. It's really powerful to start using that as a tool. It's actually like a secret weapon, the way I look at it.
That's awesome. So if you are watching this, YouTube, Facebook community, wherever you're watching this, do me a favor, click the like button, subscribe. You know what you're supposed to do on social media if you're watching this. Give Julie a shout out because she's awesome and she took, valuable time out of her day to add some value here. Julie, what's the easiest way besides this fancy book? By the way, I have what I call the male version of your book because you got it. Can you show the female version of your book, which I love? Oh yeah.
And I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, this is the one that like, I've got both, obviously.
And by the way, there's a whole story behind why I put it that way, because you and I were at a writers conference one time and somebody who we respect a lot picked up your book and they're like, well, no guy's ever going to buy this. And then I noticed 6 months later, you came out with the more maybe business friendly version.
Right.
So
Right.
besides buying your book, Get a PhD in You, how can people stay in touch with you and hear more about your message?
Yeah, I would love it. And if anyone's like wants further support designing their life, it's what I do. JulieReisler.com, super easy. And it's REI, like the store, SLER. That's why I say it's easy to remember. You can email me, just drop me a note at Julie@JulieReisler.com. I'm also Facebook, Instagram. And if you're thinking about meditating or stillness or any of those areas, I have about 20 meditations and courses on Insight Timer. It's an amazing app with a lot of really good free shit.
Awesome. And I will tell you guys the podcast, the You-est You, I know most of us need more content to consume, like a hole in the head. So I appreciate you guys all being on this live stream. But the You-est You is a podcast worth listening to if you want to get in touch with more of yourself and more self-care, more self-mastery. It's by far one of the best podcasts in the space in that area. So Julie, thank you so much for being on. One day I'll even pronounce your last name correctly because I have another friend that pronounces it Reisler. So apologize about that. I always
don't even.
I just feel bad. I feel bad. You're a close friend.
Right.
I can't even pronounce your last name correctly.
I got nothing around that. I just wish I could give you a hug. So
no judgment. Well, we'll give it. How about this? How about we give some virtual hugs?
Virtual hugs, everybody.
We're making that the new norm, like virtual hugs. Nothing awkward about that. So
someone the other day was like, virtual hugs. I'm like, don't do that again.
Don't do that. That's not the right one. That's not the right
one. This. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in my business, they're always saying, all you got to do is get on and role play with people. I'm like, there's certain people my wife wouldn't want me role playing with.
Right.
But all right, cool. Always got to get in a dirty joke there to end our conversation. And maybe, depending on how much longer the shelter in place goes on, maybe we could have you back on in a couple of weeks and give some additional tips because I love you and I love your audience. So let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon.